Harry and Meghan Markle have a new mouthpiece, and that is People magazine. After cycling through a couple of different people, including Omid Scobie at one point, Harry and Meghan have found a new home for this endless self propaganda, and that is People magazine. What you could say is sort of the premier celebrity publication in the United States. Now, while People magazine is essentially just a PR puff piece, when it comes to Harry and Meghan, I feel like their journalistic creds are taking a massive hit because basically all People magazine does is regurgitate exactly what Harry and Meghan and their team tell them without doing any additional research, adding any additional context that is actually correct. Because what they do is even the context they add always has a Harry and Meghan bent. And we see this, of course, in the recent article about Meghan Markle missing her engagement ring, not for a month, like people sort of alludes to, but for a year, was missing for all of 2023. Then we also have the updated article about the Duke of Westminster's wedding and how him and Harry became to a mutual decision as friends because Harry can't go because, security, which is not actually the case because Harry would be perfectly fine in the United Kingdom if he chose to go there. He is fighting in order to salvage his ego. And then we have, of course, the biggest and the impetus for this video, which is an article about Lilibet's birthday. Because get this, guys, huge earth shattering information. A child, a 3-year-old, had friends, family, and a birthday cake at her birthday party. Isn't that groundbreaking journalism right there? And I see this in other places too about the downfall, sort of, you could say, of, I would say, some good royal journalism. But I think People magazine, especially for having such the high level of authority that you could say it has, especially here in the United States, their absolute lack of journalistic integrity here, I think is absolutely deplorable because people in the United States, they don't generally look at the UK publications like I do or some of you guys in the audience do. They're looking at something like People, Us Weekly. And when People magazine has, you could say, somewhat the higher level of authority, that they are essentially allowing Harry and Meghan to dictate the entirety of what they're publishing. I think that's a really big problem because questions should always be asked. You should always ask more as a journalist. If People magazine is willing to be the mouthpiece of Harry and Meghan, they need to be asking for more or they need to be double checking the facts. But they seem to be just allowing Harry and Meghan to write the articles for them. And that's a huge problem because they are just regurgitating misinformation and Harry and Meghan spin on things that's just not accurate. So we are going to explore this today because when you look at journalism and how people are getting information, you need good places to do that. And yes, sometimes People magazine offers some good things, but it should just be at such a higher level than what it is right now that they basically sold their soul just so they can promote Harry and Meghan. I find very disconcerting. So we are going to go into this a day. And of course, this is just my opinion. But if you guys haven't been to Royal News Network before, my name is Brittany and I provide y'all compelling royal commentary. So if you want to hit that subscribe button, that would be absolutely fantastic. We would love to have you back. And I just launched the latest edition of the Crown Report, which is sort of my podcast. I'm starting to really sort of get off the ground and get a really good system in place for it. I'm so excited about the latest episode. It turned out so incredibly well. As I was like editing it, I was like, oh my gosh, this is the best one yet. So I'm so excited. We go over all the royal news that's not usually generally Harry and Meghan. So we talk about different things like the rumors going on in Spain with the marriage of the king and queen. We have updates on Truth being on Catherine. We have the Monaco Grand Prix. Just so much great information. So if you guys want to check that out and get an idea of what's going on in the rest of the royal sphere, I would love to have you there. And just let you guys know too, as we are halfway through the year, it is halfway to Christmas. Aren't you excited? I am because I am taking a group of my followers to Germany and the Czech Republic. So if you guys want to sign up for that trip, and if you're excited to go experience some Christmas markets, in addition to checking out hopefully some palaces, some things that aren't on the tour itinerary, like the Green Vault in Dresden and seeing the Green Diamond of Dresden, again, would love to have you do that. So go ahead and check out the link up above and then the one down below as well. When it comes to royal journalism, there definitely are some sources that I find just are very good, some that are kind of hit and miss, and some that are usually just plain old bad. Because when I say good journalism, I'm talking about the Times, the Telegraph, so many different things. When I'm talking about iffy hit and miss, you got the Daily Mail, you got the Express, you got the New York Post. There's like a couple ones in between that are like, oh, these are pretty good. And then you got the ones that are pretty bad. And I'm starting to really put People Magazine in the pretty bad column. And I am surprised to say this because, again, People Magazine used to have a pretty great reputation. And of course, they still do some great stories. But the more I look at what they're posting about Harry and Meghan, I'm just seeing some massive, massive issues with them not digging into what the two of them are telling them because they're spinning every article the way Harry and Meghan want them to. And that's not what real journalism is supposed to be about. Now, I don't claim on this channel to be an objective journalist. I call myself a commentator for very particular reasons. But the more I look at how People Magazine is spinning things, I'm just finding it very, very concerning about the stories that they're telling a largely American audience, which I would say is already sort of ignorant about the realities of royalty and the importance of sharing actually good information and them actually digging into what Harry and Meghan are telling them, because that is what they are not doing. They take everything basically that Harry and Meghan tell them at face value. There is no further journalistic research. And yes, there are deadlines. Yes, there are pressures. But if you really know what you're talking about when it comes to royalty, you can really pick a lot of holes in Harry and Meghan stories. Because I did that when I was watching, of course, Harry and Meghan's interview with Oprah Winfrey when Meghan goes, oh, my child wasn't given a title because of their race. I'm like, no, 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 that's complete BS. It's called the letters of patent. And you knew that because you mentioned that later in the episode. And so you absolutely knew that Archie was not qualified to have a title when he was born, which was 100% the case. You could have the title of a duke, but not the title of a prince or princess, because we didn't know what the gender of the child was before they were born because of the letters of patent. And we also know I was actually watching Harry and Meghan's documentary or reality TV show again, and I noticed they were talking about this section about the paparazzi stalking them. And they used this picture, and I'm like, that is not the paparazzi stalking them. That is them going into the lunch at Buckingham Palace right before Christmas, where all the photographers camp out to get pictures of all the members of the family. They all know they're there. We have pictures of Catherine. We have pictures of Zara. We have pictures of Peter often, Harry, Beatrice, Eugenie, the Kents, the Gloucesters, other members of the Windsor family. We get pictures of them all going in to Buckingham Palace for that Christmas lunch, which hasn't happened since COVID. Then they moved it to Windsor, I think, the last couple of years, which I think is a little sad. I always thought it was really cool that they had the whole family together there right before Christmas and that everybody could come in and have this sort of big banquet lunch at Buckingham Palace. So looking at that was just another example of how Harry and Meghan spin a completely innocent scenario and try to make it nefarious. And what you need is journalists who call them out on that. We never saw that with any of the interviews Harry did about his book or any of the interviews Harry and Meghan do because they go with publications almost always that never question them, that never know enough to go, hey, I think what you're telling me is maybe not the entire picture. In fact, it's just a sliver of the picture. And I think that Harry and Meghan doing that all the time is really, really deplorable. And we just see this so much in these recent People magazine articles. And I want to preface this again by saying this is just my opinion, but the more I look at these, the more I'm like, you guys are supposed to be a big source of good information. Why aren't you questioning what they're telling you? Because they're not telling you the whole story. And it just seem it's not great look for a publication to do that. And so here we have a couple of the stories. And so I want to go down and show you all these that we have here that I found really interesting. And if we find something else that's good, we'll check it out too. But we have this first one here. Prince Harry invited to the Duke of Westminster's wedding, understanding between two friends. Now, number one, I would say I don't think Harry's that close of friends with the Duke of Westminster. I think the Duke of Westminster is a lot closer to William. And they chose the Duke of Westminster to be a godfather for Archie. He was the godfather to George too, I think in part because he's got a lot of money. He is a billionaire. And so looking through this, you can obviously tell that the Duke of Sussex sends his love and support and admiration for the couple, a source tells People. And basically, because of what People magazine has become, you can basically say almost 100% that was Harry and Meghan's PR team that told them that. So it goes in to say People confirms that the Duke of Sussex was invited to the upcoming wedding of Hugh Grosvenor, the Duke of Westminster, to Olivia Henson at Chester Cathedral in Northern England on June 7th. However, there was an acknowledgement on both sides. It would be difficult for Harry to attend. Yeah, because nobody likes the guy anymore. Meanwhile, Prince William is expected to serve as an usher at what is regarded as a society wedding of the year. It says that it was an understanding between two friends. I can't even think of the last time we actually saw Harry and the Duke of Westminster interact. I think it has been a very, very, very long time. The source describes a conversation between the two dukes. An insider close to the bride and groom tells people that Harry and the Duke of Westminster mutually made an agreement. Now, I call BS on this personally. I think that the insider close to the bride and groom was probably Harry and Meghan. Because I don't think anybody from the United Kingdom would go, oh, yeah, we need to tell you, People magazine, in this article that really is beneficial to Harry and Meghan, that we're going to tell you that they made the mutual decision. I think the mutual decision kind of went like this. The Duke of Westminster, whether or not he wanted to, called up Prince Harry and goes, "Hey, Harry, you know what? I know it's going to be really hard for you to come. And I know there's a lot of tension with your family. And honestly, there's a lot of tension between you and like everybody in our country. So why don't you just stay home?" And Harry's like, "Yeah, yeah, that makes sense." I think that was the context of the mutual decision. And it's just sad that it's been portrayed this way. That's like, this great understanding, and that it would just be so difficult for Harry because it's not difficult. Harry, of course, can make the trip. It's the other issues that Harry is making difficult here. And so it says the decision certainly avoided the inevitable clamor had estranged brothers Prince William and Prince Harry both attended the nuptials, eliminating the possibility of the big day being overshadowed for the couple. Yes, the other context would be, yeah, and your brother's coming. And honestly, I'm really close to your brother. So I really don't care if you're there. But if you guys could send us a gift, he's not asking for gifts, the Duke of Westminster. But he's like, if you could just send us a card and give say hello, that would be great. That's all we're really looking for. Because again, he doesn't really need Harry there. Why would he really want Harry there? Because at this point, again, Harry has just lost so much in terms of his relationship with other people throughout the United Kingdom. I just don't see this being any different. It says the transatlantic travel to the UK is fraught for Harry due to security challenges in his home country. His official support was removed after he and his wife Meghan Markle stepped back from their royal duties and relocated to her home state of California in 2020. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex can also no longer use Frogmore Cottage, their home in the Windsor Great Park, as a base during stays in the UK. So, lots of problems with this here. Number one, there's not really a big security challenge for Harry in the UK. His security challenge is he wants security and he's not getting security. That's the security challenge. It's not that he has such a high risk that he needs this massive security apparatus. He's gone to the UK several times and been just fine. So I think he'll be just fine again. So this is more about satiating Harry's ego than it is based in the truth. And of course, they can no longer use Frogmore Cottage. Why? Because they abused their access to Frogmore Cottage to film their Netflix show. And the royals are like, no, we cannot trust you alone on any estate. You can stay because this is not what this says, is that Harry can ask to stay on any estate in the United Kingdom. And he would be allowed to do that if the palace found a place for him. But of course, it has to be under their conditions. Harry has lost the privilege, lost the right, lost whatever you want to spin it, to go to a palace property without supervision. And so, because of that, he is now required to let them know when he is coming and they can arrange a location for him to stay. And if he doesn't want to stay there, then he is on his own. And again, the security issue, what security issue? The guy's going to be just fine. The guy's going to be just fine. Yes, he has obviously needs to have some security, but Harry is low on the totem pole. That's the reality of his royal life. And so he's perfectly capable of staying somewhere else and being perfectly safe. So this again is all satiating Harry's ego. And it ends with the Duke of Sussex sends his love and support and admiration for the couple for their wedding day, the source tells people. I'm like, of course he does. Of course he does. But what's interesting about this article, too, is never that it mentions that Meghan received an invite, nor that she had any desire to come to this whatsoever. It's all about Harry sending his love and support, Harry doing X and Y. No really mention of Meghan here much. And again, Meghan is the reason he doesn't live in the UK. He doesn't travel to the UK much. It all has to do with Meghan. So you could almost read into this too that the Duke of Westminster was like, yeah, we would be okay with you coming, but we really don't want your wife there. And who can blame them? Last time Meghan Markle was at a big wedding, she essentially told the world that she was pregnant. And also all the people at the wedding that she was pregnant. Because that's just what you want, is somebody who tries to steal your thunder. on your wedding day. So I don't think Harry is probably getting too many invitations to weddings anymore. So next we'll look at, and this one's not an exclusive, but I do find this one interesting, is Meghan Markle and Prince Harry not invited to Trooping the Color for a second year in a row. And I find this odd that People magazine often puts the ladies' names first and not the guys, which is odd because the men are the blood royals, so you always should put them first and the ladies second. People confirms that the Duke and Duchess of Sussex have not been invited to this year's annual celebration of the British monarch's birthday in London, scheduled for June 15th. They were also not invited to the event last year, which marked the first time Trooping the Color took place during the reign of King Charles, Harry's father. So, yes, Harry and Meghan did not receive an invitation. And that's not really a surprise, although it does bum me out because now I'm thinking it'll be another slim down balcony appearance. And I'm sorry, but I just don't find that as fun as I do having everybody up there. If a lot of other people are up there and Harry and Meghan weren't invited, makes them look incredibly bad. But it also lacks the context here of explaining, if we go further down here, that they're talking about the 2022 Trooping the Color, which was the Queen's Platinum Jubilee. And it says, however, they did not join the royal family on the Buckingham Palace balcony as in previous years. Harry and Meghan watched the festivities, including the military procession down the mall and the Royal Air Force's aerial display over London from a room above the Horse Guards parade along the with other non-working royals. So what they say here kind of sort of but not really is that the plan had been made to essentially just focus on the working members of the royal family and that non-working members were no longer really on the balcony. And it would be interesting to know because technically Eugenie and I think other royals have watched the fly past from St. James's Palace because she showed a video of herself and her family on St. James's Palace. So I wonder actually if Harry and Meghan didn't even go to St. James's with most of the rest of the family. That would be interesting to know. But again, what they could add here, which was context, is how Charles wanted to slim down the monarchy and he was beginning to start this a bit with the queen during her reign. And so I think that was the context they should have added here because they really make Harry and Meghan to a certain extent look put out and like, oh, they couldn't do it. Not because of what they've done right now, but because of how Charles was changing the family. So they didn't really explain this very well. And it says if you can't get enough of People's Royal coverage, sign up for the free Royal newsletter. Yeah, I probably won't do that just because I don't think your information's very good. Like they get it directly from the source, but the journalistic research I would say here is pretty lacking. And so here's the one that sort of started the whole idea for this video. Meghan Markle and Prince Harry celebrate Princess Lilibet's third birthday party at Montecito home. This is an exclusive, guys. This is an exclusive. So this is very pertinent information. So we even have bullet points here. But they say Harry and Meghan's little princess is turning 3. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex will mark the third birthday of their daughter, Princess Lilibet, on June 4th, but they got the festivities started early with a pre-birthday bash. The family celebrated over the weekend with a party at their home in Montecito, California, People confirms. Among the guests were close friends and family, as well as some of Lily's friends. That is literally all the new information in this article is this, and which is nothing. There is nothing there. A child who can't tie their own shoelaces had a birthday party with family and friends. It doesn't even mention the birthday cake. But I mean, there is nothing here. And I forgot to mention, but look how far this article goes with all this extra little things about, the bare bones information we know about Archie and Lilibet over the years. But the only new information is this. Why didn't People magazine press for more? Why even publish this? It's such a nothing burger of an article here. This is like so bare bones basic. Like, of course, like intellectually, we all know Lilibet probably had a birthday party with friends and family. So I don't understand why I need this. This tells me something essentially that we all logically guessed, that we didn't need any information for. And so my question is, why isn't as journalists did you not demand more? Because I would look at this and go, I can't write an article about this. I'll post it on X and that's it. Because you can't write an article about that. There's nothing there. There's no new picture. There's nothing. There is nothing there. And here's the reality of the Harry's and Meghan situation as well. They desperately want their children to be seen as a prince and princess. They're desperate for that. And they mention their children quite a bit. Yeah, we never see them. And yes, of course, there's all the fake child rumors or whatever. And if you guys have followed this channel for a while, you know I don't buy into any of that. But my problem is if you're going to make a huge fuss about your children, we need to actually see the children. If you don't want to do that, that's fine, totally fine. But you run the risk of making a big fuss about your children and the public isn't attached because I saw this article and I went and thought, why do I care? Why do I care that your child had a birthday bash that sounds just the same as any other birthday bash for any other child in the world or the Western world? Whereas I'm sure as Catherine and William threw very similar parties for all 3 of their children when they turned 3, but I didn't need an article about it, and I think it goes to show the desperation of Harry and Meghan to keep themselves in the spotlight because this 100% came from Harry and Meghan's team, 100% came from their team. That's how People Magazine runs. They basically are go to the the PR person gives them a story, and essentially they just regurgitate the story. And this again, problematic because it lacks any, I feel like, journalistic integrity in some ways and any other greater insight. A 3-year-old has a banal birthday party. Why aren't you as a publication asking for more? Why are you giving them shelf space when they're giving you nothing? They're giving you absolutely nothing. They did the same thing with the Nigeria. I showed you guys an article in a previous video, and I'll post a link up above, where I went through the People Magazine article, and they really didn't mention anything about Nigeria, and they talked about themselves, and they gave you nothing. There was literally nothing interesting in that article at all. And this is everything related to Harry and Meghan with People Magazine right now. Everything. They're letting them dictate this, and they shouldn't because it's lacks again that principle of journalism where you need to dig into more. It's like, okay, if you're gonna have us do this, that's fine. But I ain't lifting my fingers to the keyboard until you give me actually something that's worthwhile of publication. Because right now this is not worthwhile. You guys either need to play the game or go away. Those are your two options. And let me see if I can find the other ring story bit. Ah, here it is. Meghan Markle's engagement ring, which tops the list as the most searched for in the world. I don't totally buy that, to be quite honest, because honestly, she has the most banal, boring engagement ring I could possibly imagine. 3 diamonds with 1 big one in the middle. Which she completely redesigned because she hated the original ring Harry gave her. Like, I don't find any of her, like, ring design interesting, but here's the interesting bit in this article, which is that Meghan typically wears the engagement ring stacked with a Welsh gold wedding ring, eternity band, which she received as an anniversary gift from Harry in 2019. But last year, she switched up her style and stopped wearing her engagement ring for a short time, including at the latest Invictus Games in Dusseldorf in Germany in September 2023. Now, People Magazine, if I am not mistaken, that ring was actually missing for all of 2023. It was missing in March, it was missing in May, it was missing all year long. That thing was missing. Now, she's right to take it off if she wants to. Of course, the reason was people understands that Meghan engagement ring was being serviced because a setting became loose. I'm sorry, but really does it take an absolute year to reset a ring? Because she redesigned the entire thing and got it back pretty quickly when she was pregnant with Archie. So that story just doesn't make sense. But again, here's the problem. They don't look into it. They don't ask questions. They don't go, actually, your engagement ring was missing all year last year. What's going on? Because we all know a setting doesn't take a year to fix. But of course they don't do it. They don't do it. And I just find that sort of abhorrent. It's a simple question. If you know the truth here, then you should be able to ask more questions because it was obviously missing. And I don't think I did a full video on it. I kind of wish I did. And there's nothing wrong again with necessarily it missing. I mean, it sends a message, but the question is, why didn't you know that it was not just in September 2023 that was missing? Because this is what they're implying here. And that's what I find so deplorable. It's like they're implying one thing when the truth is actually something else. And it's very easy to find out what the actual truth is. Just take some time to look at some pictures and you can see that thing is missing. So why don't you, People Magazine, do the research? Because people are looking to you for good information. And personally, guys, I take this role very seriously. I try to give you guys the best information possible. And it's not, you could say, always perfect. I do screw up from time to time, but I genuinely, generally try to give you guys the best information possible. And I'm a small outlet. I don't really have any sources, but I'm pretty good at sussing through and evaluating what's good information, what's bad information. But when People Magazine, a publication that has a big footprint and a big readership, fails to do just the bare bones basic of research, fails to do the bare bones of asking more, not just taking what Harry and Meghan say at face value, actually asking questions, knowing what's really going on. I find that very personally somewhat disturbing because when I was in California recently and people were asking me about the royals, there was not a lot of information that they knew on some topics. And People Magazine is a publication that fills some of that void. And unfortunately, it's filling the void with a lot of misinformation, disinformation, or just half information. So, guys, let me know what you think of this video. Let me know what you think of Lilibet's birthday party. Were you stunned? A 3 year old had a party with friends, family at her home. Who's shocked, right? Who's shocked? I mean, oh my gosh, it's just brand new information. That's some good journalism right there, People Magazine. So, guys, again, thank you so much for watching, and I shall see you guys very, very soon. Bye.